What's up, guys? It's Eric from Rare Candy, and today we're back with another deck and battle here on PTCGO. And today we're going to be taking a look at a deck that's been receiving a little bit of hype as of lately, and that's going to be Solgaleo GX, Lurantis GX. It's really interesting too because I remember up until the release of Sun and Moon, people were talking about all these different ways to play Solgaleo. You know, we even tried out a version that played Talonflame and Lunala. If you guys want to see that, I'll be sure to put a link to that as well. It's kind of fun. But yeah, no one, from what I remember, was talking about this. And actually, in the Elite Trainer box, like manual thing that they give you, whatever you want to call it, it kind of gives you interesting pairings for new cards. And one of the suggestions is Lurantis and Solgaleo. And so it's just kind of funny that a suggestion from, like, the little manual booklet thing in the Elite Trainer box actually turned out to be a legitimate deck. It's kind of interesting. I forget, it did place decently at I believe it was Anaheim Regional, so it was kind of cool to see this deck come out and kind of take some people by surprise. That's what we're going to be taking a look at today, and it's kind of exciting because both these cards are two very hyped cards from Sun and Moon. So let's just get right into it. So here our main attacker is going to be Solgaleo GX, this monstrous 250 HP tank of a card. Metal type, is weak to fire, and actually both of our attackers are weak to fire, so that means this deck gets bodied by Volcanion, unless you want to tech in some weird stuff like weakness policy or something like that. But that's going to be a bad matchup for us. But against everything else, this card's not too bad. So 250 hit points, like I said, and everything on this card is just great. Both attacks and the ability. So the ability Ultra Road is basically just switch. You switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. And that seems very simple, but it's such a good ability. Just being able to easily choose who you want to be in the active spot every turn is just so strong. Again, it's a very simple ability, but it's one that's extremely powerful. So to main attack, what we're going to use to take knockouts is going to be Sunsteel Strike. For 2 metal and a colorless, we do 230 damage and discard all energy from this Pokemon. So 230 damage for 3 energy is crazy good. You do have to discard all of your energy, but we do run Lurantis to help get our energy back out of the discard pile. But even still, so metal doesn't really have a ton of support in the current format as far as being able to power up your attackers. So how are we actually going to power up this guy? And that's going to be with its GX move, Soul Burst GX. Just for 1 metal, you search your deck for 5 energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon in any way that you like. That is just insane. You can easily set up your board. So as of turn, starting on your 3rd turn, you can have up to, 8 energy total. So 1 attachment for your 1st turn, a 2nd attachment for your 2nd turn. Use this attack to get 5 energy play, and then a 3rd attachment on your 3rd turn. So 8 energy by turn 3. That's pretty good. So this is good because this will allow us to easily power up our Solgaleos much quicker. So yeah, this is going to be the card the whole deck kind of revolves around. Has 3 retreat costs, which is very annoying. So good thing it has this ability to let us switch into whoever we want. And Psychic Resistance is also pretty good as well because Mega Mewtwo is still a solid deck for the new Sun Moon format. And also Espeon has been receiving a little bit of hype as of lately. Shout out to Russell Lepar and his guys over at Someone's PC. I think they've been hyping up Espeon Wobbuffet. And that's actually what we end up playing against in the battle video, so stay tuned for that. So definitely good resistance, bad weakness for sure though. Yeah, that's going to be Solgaleo, and we're playing a 4-2-3 line. So the reason, and that might seem a little awkward, is we want to max out our Cosmogs because we need as many of these in play as possible. We need to ensure that we get the turn 2 Soul Burst GX. So it's really important. Otherwise, I'd probably play a 3-1-3 line. But opting for a 4-2-3 just because you don't need 4 Solgaleos, but you definitely need to ensure a Cosmog on the first turn of the game. So the other main Pokemon we're going to be playing is a 2-2 Lurantis line, and Lurantis GX here. This is going to be the other partner. This is going to be how we're going to get back our energies after we've used Sunsteel Strike a couple times. So Lurantis GX, 210 hit points, solid for a stage 1. Fire weak as well, like I said, so Volcanion is still going to beat us. 2 retreat cost, which is kind of irrelevant since we have Solgaleo's ability. But we're mainly looking at Lurantis for flower supply. So for a grass energy, you do 40 damage and attach 2 basic energy cards from your discard to your Pokemon in any way that you like. So it doesn't specify grass energy, so that means we can actually get our metals back out of the discard pile and repower up our Solgaleos as well. And Lurantis is actually a decent attacker for its second attack as well. Solar Blade for 2 grass and a colorless, it is 120, and you heal 30 from this Pokemon. And so Lurantis is actually really good in your matchups where you're attacking into a lot of non-EXs and non-GXs. So Solgaleo is great against things like Darkrai's and Mewtwo's and all of these big 2-prize attackers. But it's very inefficient to actually have to discard your energy every time if you want to knock out 1-prize attackers. So things like Vespiquen, Greninja, etc. Lurantis is going to be a much better Pokemon to attack with. So definitely a decent attacker on his own as well. And then it does have a GX move. You don't use it too often in this deck, but it's Chloroscythe GX. This does 50 times the amount of grass energy attached to this Pokemon. So we normally want to use our Soul Burst GX since we can only use 1 GX move in the entire game. But there are some weird instances where I've run into where this attack can be useful, especially if you're playing against like a water deck, like a water toolbox deck with Lapras and things like that. I found myself using this attack before, but most of the time Solgaleo is just going to be the better route to go. And then from there we're just playing 2 Shaman EX for its setup ability, just to draw until we have 6 cards in hand. Pretty straightforward. There's actually a decent amount of other Pokemon you guys can choose to include in this list that I chose to omit. I just wanted to make a really consistent, straightforward version of the deck. But you can also play things like Genesect EX, Scizor EX, Cobalion. I actually was playing Wobbuffet for a little bit just to get around things like Item Lock. You can play Glaceon, which I believe is what the player at Anaheim Regionals chose to have in his list to deal with things like Vespiquen, I believe. And also it's good in the mirror match too. But yeah, like I said, I opted just to go for a really straightforward, streamlined Pokemon line in this version. So getting into the supporter cards, we're going to be playing 3N. Each player shuffles their hand in their deck and draws equal to the amount of prize cards they have left. And then 3 Sycamore, discard your hand, draw 7. Those are kind of our bread and butter of the current format, so we're playing decent counts of those. We're also playing 1 Lily. So draw until you have 6 cards in your hand, and if it's your first turn, you draw until you have 8 cards in hand. So why are we playing this? Because most decks, honestly, are fine just playing Sycamore and N, but one reason I actually like Lily in this list is because there's a lot of times where it's not optimal to discard your whole hand with Sycamore because, we play multiple evolution lines, and you'll find yourself frequently with, pieces of each evolution line that you don't want to discard, or maybe some rare candies. So Lily is nice because, especially if we have, let's say, a Cosmog and a rare candy in hand, and we don't want a Sycamore, we can just Lily and draw until we have 6, and hopefully draw into our Solgaleo. That way we keep the rare candy. Or vice versa. We have Solgaleo in hand, we can Lily and draw until we have 6, and hopefully get ourselves a rare candy. So it's kind of good in different situations, and if you open with it, you can draw until you have 8 cards. So it's kind of a cute little one-of in this list. We're also playing 1 Skyla. Search your deck for a trainer card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So it kind of fills a similar role as Lily. So it's mainly to help us get out different pieces to evolve. So, like I said, if we have a Cosmog on the field and a Solgaleo in hand, we can use Skyla to grab ourselves a rare candy to evolve into our Solgaleos. We put Max Potion in this list as well, so we can get those out with Skyla. Floatstone, Super Rod, etc. And then just to round out the supports, we're playing 2 Lysander. So switch your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active, just to help us choose what we want to take knockouts on, especially if our opponent's trying to force us into taking 7 prizes by putting up 1 prize attackers. And forcing us to waste a lot of energy. We can Lysander around that end, take a knockout on something that gives up 2 prizes instead. So moving into the item cards, we have 4 versus Seeker, just to reuse all of those different supporters. For Ultra Ball, discard 2 cards from your hand. Search your deck for any Pokemon. Pretty straightforward. It's a common 4 of in almost every deck these days. For Trainer's Mail, look at the top 4 cards of your deck and get a trainer card you find there. So it's interesting, a lot of players have actually been choosing to cut Trainer's Mail recently, or play it in lower quantities than I think they previously did. But I'm actually opting to max it out in this deck because especially on the first 2 turns of the game, there's so many things we want to get down. We obviously want to get down multiple Cosmogs just in case one gets knocked out. We're gonna want to dig for rare candies. So especially in decks that run things like Spirit Links or Rare Candy, I love Trainer's Mail just because there's usually multiple pieces that you need of a combo to make happen. So that's how we're playing Trainer's Mail. If you do want to go a little bit lower and maybe put in something else, I'd understand, but honestly I like maxing out in this list. Playing 2 Super Odds, shuffle 3 of any Pokemon or basic energy from your discard back into your deck. So most decks usually just run 1 Super Odd, but since we're discarding so much energy, 2 Super Odd is definitely preferred here. It's definitely easy to run out of energy if you're not careful, even with 2 Super Odd. For Rare Candy, the best card in the list, of course, here at Rare Candy. You know we're trying to play this card, max it out at 4. So choose one of your basic Pokemon and play. If you have the stage 2 in your hand, you get to skip basically the middle evolution and go straight to the final one. So aside from us loving Rare Candy, the reason we're maxing it out at 4 is just because you really want to get a turn 2 Solgaleo GX. I think really, I don't want to say the whole game hinges on that, but it's just so important to make sure you get that off, because if you don't, I mean, even if you're getting the turn 2 Soul Burst, at earliest you're attacking on turn 3. So this deck is very slow. So we really just want to make sure that we get this strategy off as soon as possible. We really can't afford to fall behind. Playing 2 Level Ball, search your deck for a Pokemon under 90 hit points, reveal it and put it into your hand. So we need multiple evolution lines set up at a time. Ideally we want ourselves 2 Solgaleo and a Lurantis in play at the least, so we are running these extra search cards just to help set up our board a little bit easier. And the final final item card is going to be 2 Max Potion, heal all damage from one of your Pokemon, and discard all of the energy attached to them as well. So Max Potion just has so much synergy with both of these attackers. So ideally what you want to do is use Sunsteel Strike to take a big knockout, discards all of your energy, and then your opponent tries to attack back into your Solgaleo. Let's just say they do 100 damage just for the sake of argument. So they swing on you, and then you Max Potion and use Ultra Road to switch into a Lurantis and repower up your Solgaleo. So it's just such you know, the turns that you can get off a Max Potion, it really changes the course of the game and really puts your opponent very behind. So since this is such a slow deck, any way we can slow our opponent down from taking knockouts, it's going to be good. And also it's good with Lurantis as well. Most of the time we're just using Flower Supply, which only takes 1 energy. So if our opponent is attacking into our Lurantis, we can always just Max Potion it off, attach a Grass Energy for turn, and keep attacking. So Max Potion is just such a strong card in this list. And also in the mirror match too, you know, a common strategy you'll see is your opponent will try to Flower Supply to do 40 damage and then use a Solgaleo Sunsteel Strike to finish off your own Solgaleo. So after they do 40 damage, you just Max Potion it off, and it prevents their own Solgaleo from knocking you out in 1 hit. So just a very strong card in this type of deck. And okay, I lied, guys. I'm sorry. We have one more trainer card in the deck. That's going to be 2 Floatstone. It gives free retreat to whatever Pokemon it's attached to. So you might be asking, why are we even playing Floatstone since Solgaleo basically gives you free retreat on everything? And that's actually going to be because Garbodor is a thing, Wobbuffet is a thing, you know, Hexmaniac is a thing. So there's going to be turns where, you know, if our opponent is ability locking us, it really makes this deck extremely clunky, because after you use Sunsteel Strike, you won't have a way to easily get out of the active spot. So we're playing Floatstone mainly for those types of matchups to allow us to easily switch into a Lurantis to repower up our attackers. So definitely a good card since, like I said, ability lock is still popular in the current game. So yeah, guys, that's going to be the list we are trying out. Like I said, you're welcome to tech it out a little bit more if you'd like to, but I opted for just pretty much the most streamlined version of this deck you could probably build right now that I know of. Oh, and I did forget to mention 4 grass energy, 7 metal, pretty straightforward. But yeah, guys, I'm going to switch over to the battle portion of the video. That way we can show you how this thing looks in action. Alright guys, so it looks like we did get ourselves a game here, and like I said, this is going to be a match against, I believe it's Espeon Wobbuffet. Kind of a deck, like I said, I've been seeing pop up here and there. I've never tested it against, for this matchup, so we'll see how this goes. But this could be interesting because Wobbuffet will shut off our Ultra Road ability, and that could prove to be kind of annoying, so we'll have to see how this one is going to go. If we can just knock out 3 Espeons, I think that's going to be the game plan here. Okay, so we do win the coin flip, which is great. Since this deck is kind of slow, if we can get the extra turn to go first, that is going to be great. And our first opening hand actually looks okay. We can Skylift for like a level ball, or hopefully we can Trainer's Mail and get ourselves a level or Ultra Ball to get down another Cosmog, because Cosmog is actually weak to Psychic. And you know, if our opponent does use Energy Evolution to get out a turn 1 Espeon, they can actually knock out our Cosmog in 1 hit. So we definitely need to get some extra Pokemon down on this first turn if possible. And here our opponent, I guess, is debating what they want to put down. And those sleeves, I just noticed, are pretty cool looking. I think it's the first time I've seen those on PTCGO. They're kind of neat looking. Like kind of like a cog looking thing. I don't know if it was like related to Steam Siege or something, but sleeves are kind of cool. Okay, our opponent is going to bench an additional Pokemon, and I don't know if they have any others they want to bench. It looks like they're thinking pretty hard about what they want to do here. Or maybe they just have bad internet. I don't know. It's taking them a while to decide. But okay, we're going to start, and our opponent does have an EV start, so we're probably going to see a turn 1 Espeon if I had to guess. So yeah, we're going to get this Floatstone down on our Cosmog. That way, in case we whiff another Cosmog, we can hopefully retreat into a different Pokemon. Maybe like a Fomantis or something else. Okay, so we got a couple options. We can Ultra Ball. We could also potentially risk hitting something off this Trainer's Mail. Okay, so we get Level Ball. It's perfect. So that way we can save that Ultra Ball for the following turn, potentially. Here it looks like I'm going to grab a Cosmog and just taking a peek through my deck just to see what all is still in there and what's not. Doesn't look like anything too crucial is prized. I think one Solgaleo is prized, but we still have 2 others. And we can attach, but I might just save the energy in case they knock out a Cosmog. And actually, I think I should have retreated too. That way we could have kept the Cosmog with the Floatstone in play. So I didn't think about that before I ended my turn there. But at least we did save the Metal Energy, you know, just in case this Espeon would have knocked us out. Okay, it looks like they play Max Elixir in their list as well. That's kind of interesting. Oh god, so they are just dead set on locking our abilities. We have a Silent Lab, and I think they do play Wobbuffet in this deck as well, so. Alright, so we will attach a Metal Rare Candy into Solgaleo. Pretty much exactly what we want to see. It's a shame we can't make use of this Ultra Ball, but here we can just end, which I'm okay with as well. And that is not what we want to see. Hopefully we can get an Ultra Ball or something off this. Okay, so we got Level Ball. It's even better. So we can Level Ball, get ourselves another Cosmog on the bench. And that way we have another target to potentially attach energy to as well. Okay, but here I'm going to do Soul Burst GX. Like I said, Solgaleo's main attack we want to get off on the second turn. So here we're definitely going to put a couple energy on our active Solgaleo. Okay, looks like I'm putting one on the bench. Okay, yeah, I want to grass on the active. And debating, I guess, if I want to attach another energy to this benched one. Just because that's the only dangerous thing here is our opponent can just Lysander this thing and take a knockout, or use Espeon's Divide GX attack and take a knockout. So I don't want to put a bunch of energy on a Cosmog that's just going to get knocked out potentially. Oh my god, so they play Hex Maniac, Wobbuffet, and Silent Lab, which is crazy. And this is actually pretty annoying because, well, because of this Hex Maniac, and normally I could just use Ultra Road to switch into this Cosmog and then just manually retreat back into the Solgaleo to take a knockout here. And I can attach an energy, and again, I'm just very weary of doing that. But here I'm just going to end my turn. Our opponent only had a 2-card hand, so we didn't want to use. And here, unfortunately, they are going to take out our... Okay, no, they aren't going to take out Cosmo. I forget, it does have 90 hit points. So we will be able to just retreat, or I'm sorry, use Ultra to switch into our Solgaleo. We're going to put down this Float Stone just to give our Solgaleo free retreat after we use Sunsteel Strike on the following turn. But here again, I'm just going to opt to hang on to that Versus Seeker just because our opponent has a 1-card hand. They didn't really play a supporter to draw cards, so I'm thinking it'll be okay. Okay, and we do hit an N. Unfortunately, I'd rather see actually a Sycamore probably here. So what is our opponent going to do? We are pretty much on track to do what we're setting up to do. There's another Espeon on the bench that we will be able to knock out at some point. So I think at some point our opponent's going to need to try to put up a 1-prize attacker in order to get back into this game. But luckily they do have Sycamore, so they are able to finally start getting back into the game. But here they're going to do Espeon's Divide GX. It lets them place 10 damage counters anywhere they want to. So this is kind of annoying. They put 3 on our bench Cosmoem to knock it out, which is our only Pokemon with energy. And then they're going to put the others on our Solgaleo. Here we're going to do Super Rod, get back a Cosmog, and it looks like just some energy here. And since our opponent did actually have a supporter, we're going to end them down to 4 cards here. And actually, this is a decent hand to survive off of. Even though we don't have a supporter energy, we can... I think this will be okay to make do with. And here, I actually purposely didn't attach an energy to Solgaleo before ending in case we hit a max potion. So here we can actually take a hit for a turn or so and then just max potion it off until we finally draw out of this hand. Oh, perfect. So this, we really couldn't have asked for a better hand. So we have max potion to heal off all that damage. We have Lurantis, we have Super Rod. So let's see, we'll probably leave a couple energy to get back with our Lurantis. So I think this will be good. Shuffle those back into the deck, and that way we can just leave those 2 metal energies and attach them with those Lurantis. Here, this is actually great. We have the grass energy, we have another Cosmog, Ultra Ball for next turn to get our another Solgaleo. So here we'll do Flower Supply and get 2 metal energies and attach them to this bench Solgaleo. Okay, so I'm feeling okay, even though it's you know, tied up on prizes. I'm thinking we will be able to knock out this Espeon on the next turn. Okay, so they're actually going to switch it up. They're going to promote Wobbuffet, which I think is okay. That will prevent us from using Ultra Road to switch into our Solgaleo, so it will force us to attack with Lurantis for 1 more turn. So our opponent's going to Max Elixir, powering up what looks like the Hoopa, and here I actually had to look at it. I forgot what it did. Okay, so I'm in a bit of an interesting spot here. So, okay, I think what we're going to do is discard Shaman and Cosmog. That seems good. Then we can get ourselves a Solgaleo, use Rare Candy to get that guy out, and then we can actually just Sycamore and keep on going. It is unfortunate we will have to, you know, just Flower Supply again this turn, but I'm okay with it. Our opponent's really not putting too much pressure. So we're going to Trainer's Mail, and okay, we have Ultra Ball or Max Potion. Looks like I'm favoring the Ultra Ball, maybe to thin some cards out of our hand. So that seems okay. See how many energy we have in this card. Actually, what I probably should do here is Ultra Ball away the... Okay, that seems good. So we're going to Ultra Ball away Rare Candy and Cosmoem. Looks like to grab ourselves a Fomantis. And we're going to put that on the bench I'm not really too worried about it just because our opponent has an even amount of prizes, so if they do knock out this benched Fomantis, it doesn't really make much of a difference because they'll still have to knock out 2 GXs either way. So we're going to Flower Supply and putting that metal we discarded onto the other Solgaleo. So again, I'm feeling pretty good about our situation right now. We can actually next turn Lysander. Oh, okay, he's just going to promote the Espeon for us, so I am perfectly fine with that. Oh man, and he uses Hex. So that means we are going to have to manually retreat, which is a little bit of a pain here. And I really don't want to Sycamore 2 versus Seekers and a Lysander, so here I'm going to end. We only get 4 cards, but okay, luckily we do hit another energy. So we can manually retreat into this Solgaleo and use Sunsteel Strike to take yet another knockout here. That means we only need one more Espeon knockout for the game. So let's see if we can manage to get that. Well, our opponent needs an Espeon first. That's the big thing. Only downside is we don't have a Grass Energy for next turn, but there still are 2 left in the deck, so we might be okay here. So here our opponent's going to do Hyperspace Punch. They get to do 20 damage on 2 of our Pokemon. Oh, awesome. So we top deck a Grass Energy, so we can actually Skyla, and yep, our other Max Potion is still in the deck. That's perfect. We can Max Potion off this Lurantis, heal it, and then use Flower Supply to start powering up our attackers yet again. Okay, it is unfortunate. We are going to take 40 damage from this Hoopa, and I could have maybe made the argument to not even attack this turn, but I think I do want to actually get out this energy. So we're going to keep powering up our attackers here. It looks like I'm debating what to do. I actually like the idea of attaching to Lurantis. Yeah, that looks good to me because we can actually Solar Blade next turn for the knockout, and then we can Solar Blade or Sunsteel Strike one more time for the last prize. That's kind of our path to victory, I think, currently. Okay, so here I'm going to Ultra Ball. I think I should. Yeah, let's get rid of the Cosmoem and the Rare Candy. Grab ourselves. I don't think it really matters either way what we grab here. Here I'm going to evolve into the Lurantis, prevent it from getting knocked out, or prevent the Fomantis from getting knocked out. I don't know if I need to either way, but I feel like it's good not to give our opponent a prize when they only have a 2-card hand. Here we're actually just going to pass, because if we attacked and our opponent had a way to retreat into Wobbuffet, they could have, I think, knocked out our Lurantis. So I don't mind playing a waiting game, because I think it's doubtful our opponent will have another Bursting Balloon, since they haven't really done much the past couple turns, I don't think. So what are they going to do here? They don't have an easy way to retreat this Hoopa, so I'm feeling pretty good about where we're at right this second. Here our opponent is going to Hex us yet again, so they play, I think, 2 Hex Maniac, Wobbuffets, and Silent Lab, so absolutely crazy. Okay, so here we can... I think it's a little risky doing this because if our opponent has an Espeon, I think they can actually knock us out with a Psychic attack. But I'm feeling okay about it because we still have Versus Seeker. We can always dig for another energy to knock out the Espeon if they do attack into us with it. Okay, so we're going down to 1 prize here. If our opponent ends us, that could be actually a little problematic. If they get out an Espeon and an N, we would be in a little bit of trouble, I think. Okay, opponents, I guess, just take time to decide what to promote. I think the Wobbuffet's fine, since that will let them have free retreat. Okay, so we're actually, I think, good here. All we need is an energy. Oh, I think we actually have Lysander in the discard as well, so we can get that out and just... Oh, never mind. So we don't have Lysander. Okay, but luckily we did top deck this Grass Energy, so we can just attach to Solgaleo GX, retreat manually, and then just use Sunsteel Strike one more time for the very last prize. Cool, so 230, knocking out the Hoopa, and that is going to be the game, guys. So yeah, despite all of the crazy ability lock our opponent had going on, we still managed to pull out a win because ability lock is, that and fire is probably the worst things for this deck to see. So definitely a very powerful deck. I won't lie, it can be inconsistent at times. That's usually the deck's biggest downfall. It's kind of like Greninja in that regard, that it's, you know, kind of inconsistent in the early turns and clunky, but once it gets going, you can really start to steamroll your opponent. But yeah, definitely a fun deck to use. I hope you guys try it out. Definitely a lot of fun to play. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it for this one. As usual, feel free to like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out our merch over at rarecandytcg.com. If you can pick up something to help support the channel, it would mean a lot to us. But with that, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you guys for the next one.